Hello there, it's me, and me. We're the Statistics Salazar Slytherins. Now here, we're talking to you about mean, median, mode, and range. Knock, knock. Who's there? You know. You know who? Exactly.
First thing we're going to talk about is the mean. That's the average of a set of data obtained by adding all quantities in the set together and dividing by the number of quantities. So here you can see an example of how to get the mean. You just add each of these numbers together and then divide by the total amount of numbers. And that gives you the mean or average of the set of data. Now the median is the middle value in a set of ordered data. It's also called the second quartile. So the median is going to be the middle if you order the data, but sometimes there won't be a middle number. So if there isn't a middle number, like there's 4 data values and you have 2 that are in the middle, you just take those 2 numbers, add them up and divide by 2. So you basically average those middle values to get your median. Next is the mode. That's the value or values in a set of data that appears most often. Mode means fashion in French. So it's like, what is mode? What's trending? So in this case, if you were to figure out of this set of data, what value appears the most, that would be 6. So 6 would be your mode because it appears 3 times. That's more than any other number. The range is the difference between the minimum and maximum values in a set of data. So all you have to do is figure out what is the greatest value in that set of data. So in this case, that would be 21. What's the least value in that set of data? That would be 13. So 21 minus 13 gives you 8. That's how you get your range.
Why did Neville take up 2 bathroom stalls? 'Cause he's a long bottom. Example time.
So example 1 says Kanye West was thinking about how much money he makes during 9 random hours throughout the day and decided to make a table. That's over here. Part 8 says, what is the median value that Kanye earns over the 9 hours? Well, what we have to do is, since this is not in order from least to greatest, we have to order it from least to greatest. So we go ahead and take this data set, reorder it from least to greatest, and it looks something like this. Now we just have to figure out which number's in the middle. Well, there are 9 data points here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, so this 8 would be right in the middle of that data set. Therefore, that's your median. But before you say 8 is your median, what are we talking about? We're talking about money earned in thousands. So 8 is actually $8,000. That is your median. Next, what are the modes for Kanye's earning over the 9 hours? Well, here it kind of gives it away in the question. There are actually 2 modes. It's bimodal. We have an 8 that appears 3 times. We also have a 9 that appears 3 times. So those would both be your modes, $8,000 and $9,000. Part C, what is the range of Kanye's earnings over the 9 hours? Well, the greatest amount that he earns is $10,000. And the least amount that he earns is $3,000. So if we subtract those 2 values, we get $7,000. That's the range of Kanye's earnings over that 9 hours. And then what is the mean value of Kanye's earnings over these 9 hours? So what we're going to do to figure out the mean is you add up all the data points. So we're going to add up all of those numbers and we get 69. We then take all of those numbers added together and divide them by however many data points there are. So in this case, there are 9 hours, right? So we divide by the number of hours, that would be 9. And you end up getting approximately 7.6 repeating, or $7,666.67 if you round it. And that's it.
Why does Snape stand in the middle of the road? 'Cause you never know what side he's on. You try.
Okay, this says Peyton Manning wanted to know how many times his Papa John's commercial aired on ESPN, 7 random days. The table below demonstrates the amount of times it aired on a given day. Cool, so we have this frequency table over here. Now it says, what is the median number of times it aired? Well, in order to figure out the median, what you have to do is take your data points and reorder them from least to greatest. Don't forget to do that. Once you do that, you then figure out what is your middle number. Well, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 3 on each side. That means that this 4th one in the middle would be your median. So 6, that means the median number of times that it aired would be 6 times. Now part B says, what is the mode for the number of times it aired? So times aired, which one appears the most often? Well, we have 2 10s and 2 5s, right? So it is bimodal. So we have 2 modes again. So our modes would be 5 and 10 times. Part C then says, what is the range of the number of times that it aired? So what's the greatest amount of times that it aired? That would be 10 times. What's the least amount of times that it aired? That would be 2. So we take 10, we subtract 2, and we get 8 times. So that is the range of your given data. Next, what is the mean number of times that it aired? So what you have to do to figure out the mean is we're going to add up the total amount of times that it aired, and we're going to take that number, which is 46, and we're going to divide it by the number of days that we counted. So that would be 7. So 46 divided by 7 is going to give you approximately 6.57 times. Now, what this means is that the average number of times that it aired over those 7 days would be approximately 6.57 times. Or if you were to round this, 7 times. Now, example 2 says the graph below shows the number of students who cut in the cafeteria line in 10 random time periods during the day. So part A says, what is the median number of students who cut in line? Now remember, median, in order to figure that out, you have to first arrange the data from least to greatest. Now if you forgot how tallies work, this is 2, this is 5 plus 1, that's 6, this is 5 plus 2, 7, 5, 3, 2, 1, 1. So we can just rewrite those as numbers and then reorder them from least to greatest. Now we want to figure out what is our middle data point. Well, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 data points, which means there's 5 on each side, which means there is no middle data point. So what we have to do is take the 2 that are in the middle, 3 and this 5, we're going to add them together and divide by 2. That'll give us the average, which is the median. So 3 plus 5 is 8, divided by 2, 4. So the average of those two numbers is going to be 4, meaning that our median number of students who cut in line is 4 students. Part B says, what is the mode for number of students who cut in line? So what number appears most often in our data set? That would be 5. So 5 appears 3 times. So the mode for number of students who cut in line, that would be 5 students. Part C, what is the range of the number of students who cut in line? So what's the greatest amount of students who cut in line? That would be the 7. And then what's the least amount of students who cut in line? That would be the 1. So you just do 7 minus 1, you get 6. That is your range of students who cut in line during this. Next, we need to figure out what is the mean number of students who cut in line. So what we do in order to do that, we have to add up the number of students, the total number of students who cut in line. So when we do that, we get 37 students, and then we take that number and divide by the number of time periods that we had here, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So when we divide that, we get 37 divided by 10 is 3.7 students. That's the mean number of students who cut in line. Or if you were to round that to the nearest whole student, that would be 4 students.
Why does Voldemort prefer Twitter to Facebook? 'Cause he has followers and not friends! Ha ha! You try.
Okay, this time it says the graph below shows the number of days Huntington Beach had a temperature over 70 degrees during 8 random months. In the first one, we're going to figure out what is the median number of days over 70 degrees. Well, here we have 8 random months, and we have the total number of days that it was over 70 degrees. So with our tallies, this is 5 plus 5, so that's 10. 5 plus 2, that's 7. This is 9. This is 5, 5, and 3, that's 13. This is 14, 14, 12, and 3. So we're going to take those data points and reorder them from least to greatest, and we're going to write them as numbers now to make it a little bit easier. So to figure out the median, all we have to do is figure out what's the middle number. Well, we have 8 data points, so that means 4 and 4. There is no middle number. So what we do instead is we take our 2 middle values, add them up, and divide by 2. That'll give us our median. So what's 10 plus 12? That's going to be 22. Divided by 2 gives you 11. So 11 days is going to be your median for this data set. Then it says, what is the mode for the number of days over 70 degrees? Well, what number of days appears the most often over here? That would be 14. It appears twice, right? So you can say 14 days is going to be your mode. Then what is the range of the number of days over 70 degrees? So what's the greatest number of days? That would be 14. What's the least number of days? That would be 3. So 14 minus 3 is going to give you 11 days. That's your range. And then what is the mean number of days over 70 degrees? So to figure out the mean, we go ahead and add up all of these days. So we add up all the numbers. And when we do that, we get 82. We then take those number of days all added together, divide them by the number of months here. And we had 8 random months, so 82 divided by 8 is going to give us 10.25 days. That's the average number of days, the mean value of days over 70 degrees. Now example 3 says your grades on 3 exams are 80, 93, and 90. What grade do you need on the next exam to have an average of 90 on the 4 exams? So we got a word problem here. So step 1, we're not scared, we can do this. Step 2, we're going to define our variables. So to define our variables, we need to know what is the question asking us. It's asking what grade do you need on the next exam to have an average of 90 on the 4 exams. So what grade do you need on the next exam? We'll say X is the grade you need on the next exam. And then it says to have an average of 90 on the 4 exams. So we'll say A is the average of all 4 exams. So we can create an equation. That's our next step. Write your equation. Let's do it. So we have 3 values, 80, 93, and 90. We also have this X, and when we add them together and divide by 4, we need to get an average of 90. Okay, so A is our average. So we say A is equal to, and then we're going to do 80 plus 93 plus 90 plus X, all divided by 4, right? This is your average of your 4 exams. Okay, cool. Now we want to figure out what do we have to get on our next exam, X, to get an average of 90. So we're going to take 90, plug it in for A here. Now all we have to do is solve for X, and we can figure out what we have to get on our next exam to get an average of 90. So let's do this. To solve for X, we need to get rid of this divided by 4. So we multiply both sides by 4. We then simplify. These cancel each other out. Over here, 4 times 90 is going to give you 360. We simplify in here as well, and we get 263 plus X is equal to 360. We then subtract 263 on both sides. These cancel each other out, and we're left with 360 minus 263. That's 97. So what does this mean? It means that you will need to get a 97 on the next exam to have an average of 90 on the 4 exams.
On a scale from 1 to 10, I would rate the Hogwarts Express a 9 3/4. Ha! You try.
Okay, it says Mike Trout had batting averages of 291, 312, 306, 315, and 299 his last 5 years in the MLB. What does he have to hit next year to ensure his batting average over the last 6 years is above 300? So step 1 in a word problem, we're not scared. We can do this. Step 2, define our variables. So what is it asking? It's asking what does he have to hit next year to ensure his batting average over the last 6 years is above 300. Okay, so what does he have to hit next year? We'll say X is Trout's batting average next year. That's what he has to hit next year to ensure his batting average over the last 6 years is above 300. So we'll say A is going to be his average over the last 6 years. Okay, so now all we have to do is write our equation. And how do we do that? Well, we're given 5 of his batting averages, right, from his last 5 years. So the average of the 6 batting averages would be 291 plus 312 plus 306 plus 315 plus 299 plus X, right, what he has to hit next year, all divided by 6. And that'll give us the average of the 6 years. So we'll say A, the average of all 6 years of his batting averages, is equal to all of these added together plus X divided by 6. Now we can figure out what does he have to hit in order for his average of the last 6 years to be 300. Well, 300 then has to go in for this A right here. Now let's solve this, and we can solve for X, his batting average. So let's do it. We get rid of this divided by 6 by multiplying both sides by 6. These cancel out. Over here, this becomes 1.8. We then simplify in here by adding these together and getting 1.523. We then subtract that from both sides of the equation, and we're left with X is equal to 0.277. Now, what does this mean? It means that he will need to have a batting average of 277 at least next year to have an average of 300 over his last 6 years.